Anyone know what you're listening to? Whales. Yeah. So the handout is basically when, and I'll kind of try to signal you, I hope, but I put all of the quotes that I'm reading from other writers on the handout so that you can kind of follow along. But I'll acknowledge I made some cuts this morning at 5 a.m. And so there's actually a lot more quotes than I'm going to read. So I will kind of cue you to where I am in the handout. So this is called Words That Listen. Can words listen? Can my words listen to yours? What you've said, what you're saying, what you'll say? Can the consonants emitted from this very sentence carve out for your words a cave, a cantation, crawling through the mouths of all these seas in which to dwell? Can my words and the blank spaces around, between, inside the letters listen to your words and the blank spaces through which they blink? Can my words listen to you listening to me? Can the tongue make a chicken casserole from scratch? Can a scratch itch itself? Can the glass pane throw open the window? Think of it this way. A hand can be held by and hold another hand at once. There's not a lot of how-to in this talk, so maybe one way to think about it is just let it flow over you. 2, inside the word heart, the words hear and ear and art and hat and tear and tear and tea and rat and tar and at and are. So many things happening at once. And this, and this, and this is where we are, right here and there and there. Look around to see where. Listen in to our lives. You guys come on in. No, you're fine. So many things happening at once, and this, and this, and this is where we are, right here, and there, and there. Look around to see where. Listen in to our lives. Feel the here-ness. Feel the here-ness. 3, this is a quote by Danielle Vogel. Language, it's a definition, a living archive, a communal lung that holds and remembers all things through us. Made between our bodies, language lives everywhere. It travels and absorbs a neural interconnectivity. The kinetic sensation is felt by all. It is composed of edges, imposes edges, but has no edges. It is a phenomenal organism, an extended nervous system that we all share. Capacious and metamorphic, infinitely adaptable, composed of and running through everything, all the meat of our bodies, this recyclable air, the earth in the universe that suspends it, all the physical spaces that contain us, and even all of the invisible, silent, or silenced spaces where language rests, waiting for us to bring out attention or bring our attention through sound. Language absorbs all things: silt, soil, your ear against air, each word, earth against the mouth, to make room in language, for language. Listen closely. Words, translated words, thought, listened, dreamt, peel. There's a lot of homonyms in this talk. Immersion, a reaching for and a pulling in. Listening engages both. Also passing through glass word tunnels are connotations, denotations, semantic transfers, etymologies, anagrams, ramen gas, first, second, third, fourth meanings, changing contexts, shifting weather systems, and its variegated reports. Everything passing through. Shadow words, antonyms, synonyms, sonic pairings, buff, beef, melt, mitten, accents and nesting memories, grandma calling the snowmobile her machine. That's what she called her snowmobile, her machine, which she kept in the shed. Dialects, names of flora and fauna, pop songs, jasmine, rap songs, instrumental songs, haiku, poo-poo, the gazelle, glistening icicles and other glass word vessels pass through the glass word vessel. The poet Edel Adnan, quote, "So mountains are language. Languages are mountains. We speak both." And there's Robert Walser walking through at a very fast clip, wearing his yellow English leisure suit, quote, "May my words be dipped one by one in a bath of deliberation until the language flowing from my pen abounds with a black velvet profundity." Not far behind and in front of at once, everything at once, Susan Bernofsky making English versions of Walser's garland sentences. Sentences as Gertie and Alice, along with Basket the poodle, that was the name of their dog. Gertrude Stein and Alice B. Toklas had a dog named Basket. They're strolling down Rue Ravignon towards the 6th arrondissement. Gertie, she's correcting me, says, "No, we are not strolling. We pill cat, Boffs, Chifferobe, Shimmy Lake. We pill blood. We pill pools, linden posits." "Oh, is that your voice, Mom?" I hear, the words with which she used to wake me for school. "Jay, it's time." And Mom's shaky scrawl on powder blue stationery. Immersion as feeling connecting to the motion, to plethora, listening with, through your entire body. Peach pits, blackberry thickets, patches of beach grass. Inside, outside, below, above, through. We transmit language and language transmits us. Crepuscular, cyanotype, moss, mycelium, the sound of your footfalls in the forest, how you say forest, your hands, your grandfather's pinking shears and fedora hat, and there flies through our language vessel like hawk, gale-lifted and wheeling, Cecilia Vicuña, trailing yarn, inside, outside, below, above, through, wrapping us softly, unfurling us, tying us together, making us, perforating us, listening to the listening. This is a Cecilia Vicuña quote. A word is pregnant with other words, and a thread contains other threads within it. Language moving us beyond language, off into the blank space, the stillness, the quiet. Who knows a word is girded round with silence, finds a way to realms. Painters have a knowledge beyond words. That was also Edel Oddman. That last sentence. 6. From the tree of knowledge, the biological roots of human understanding, by Humberto Maturana and Francisco Varela. Quote, we work out our lives in mutual linguistic coupling, not because language permits us to reveal ourselves, but because we are constituted in language, in a continuous becoming that we bring forth with others. End quote. We are part of language. Our bodies change every moment, and this change materializes through our relationship to beings. And language, with words and beyond, navigates these relationships in conjunction with relationships between our many selves. Daniel Vogel, a neural interconnectivity. The kinetic sensation is felt by all. We connect not simply to language usage, but to all who make use of language, which is to say, open language manifests connective action. A writer speaks on the page and beyond to a reader, real or imagined, and the language constructs shared space for us to listen to what? To change. This is a definition of change. Change. Turning into somebody, becoming something, grow, decline, often at the same time. Feel emotions with more or less intensity, wandering, searching, never finding. Move your body faster, get some rest. Hold your body like a clenched fist. 2 steps forward, 1 back. Back to a restaurant at which you and mom used to eat. Deny, make habit of denial. We've all done that. Normalize denial. Normalize running long distances, then your hips ache. Push away, invite in. Sometimes we invite in beings in order to push others away. Kenneth Koch, one train hides another. Gain a pound, drop a wallet, increase your dosage, do-si-do, relate to, reach for, then receive, then feel yourself receiving, feel yourself visible on this earth. The moment passes. Beckon, offer, to become the sight of. Witness beings take action, be acted upon. Anne Frank peers out through, quote, a chink in the heavy curtains. at the street below and Prinsengracht Canal. This is an Anne Frank quote from her diary. She's looking through the curtains on the top floor. This is a great joy for her on the weekends to be able to look out in this little bitty space of the curtains onto the street. By the way, speaking of Jews, I saw two yesterday. When I was peeking out through the curtains, I felt as though I were gazing at one of the seven wonders of the world. It gave me such a funny feeling, as if I denounced them to the authorities and was now spying on their misfortune. Love. Deepen love. You're feeling so angry, so aggrieved, so anxious that you no longer have access to feelings of love. Pima children. Things come together and things fall apart. Itch. Scratch itch or allow itch to itch. Things break, heal incompletely. Brings things into existence. Bring things into existence. Make things. Make as much as you can. We're making one another. Scarring occurs. This is a definition called the giant ear. So this is really the second part of the talk. So I'm really talking about listening. And I think one of the amazing things about cultivating a very intense practice to listening is it will deepen empathy. It will help make an empathetic system. It will contribute to that. I believe cultivating the practice of careful listening in a variety of physical and psychic spaces has the effect of deepening empathy for yourself and for beings around you. More so than the visual apparatus, which is congested by conditioned, overused, market-driven cultural imagery, our auditory perceptions cut right through this noise to what is, more swiftly decentering the self. A person's thoughts, their ego, their sense of self-importance becomes supplanted by the body receiving, discerning, parsing sound. Immersion spreads. Not simply within, but around, through. The poet Linda Russo says in her introduction to Counter Desecration, a glossary for the Anthropocene, quote, "This brings to mind the concept of enchantment, the active, self-directing entry into interrelational complexity that depends on a willful suspension of certainty or already knowing. The self reaches for and receives within at once, relating to beings and non-being beings, woven within the fabric of what one can apprehend through sensory receptors and what exists beyond. One is not surrounded. I'm trying to get rid of this mentality of I'm surrounded by things. One is a component part within the unfathomable whole. Immersive experience remakes us by bringing bodies into simultaneous connection within multiple ways of being in the world. What we sense with our bodies, the dreams preceding and conjured by our sensorium, and what lies beyond, the textured, slippery sentience, like a varied topography of this beyondness, streets on which we've never walked, the mountaintops at the bottom of the sea, wavelets wash ashore, the self decenters, feels uncertain, perforating, infusing. Immersion. A reaching for and a pulling in. Empathic conditions materialize and begin to shape one's way of being in the world. As auditory rises, takes hold, defenses abate, judgment slips away, vulnerability emerges, and the self exposed and raw, but guided to, becomes shared, increasing capacity to imagine what beings and non-being beings feel. That's what we're doing. We're imagining what we feel. We're imagining what others might be feeling on the page. When empaths interact with one another, empathy becomes more voluminous, heightening connectivity, forming an empathic system. We are forming an empathic system, by the way. It's always in motion, and it's always becoming something other, inside of which the words we're using feel like the same words others use, but also feel idiosyncratic, like sleep shapes do. Earth holding our bodies in repose. Language shapes body, is body beyond two. Open language precedes, enacts, builds, provokes, and culminates in empathetic feelings and actions. A friend said, empathy is delicate, a shy animal, easily scared back in the woods. So this section, it has the phrase possibly skip. I think I'm going to possibly skip it. Okay. Words listen to the words of others because speaker and listener need for survival to share experience. This is from Leah Papura. I put this book on the recommended reading list, and I am obsessed with it. I love it. And then this is Edel Adnan. I love Edel Adnan, and I love her book too. And together they're Atelia, Edel and Leah. This is Leah Papura from Recurrences and Concurrences. Without the sight of this essay, these moments are nowhere. And reader, without you, this reflection on things remaking themselves, fern into ice, ice into sea plant, faces and lives over time is unseen. Stay with me. Stay with me. Purpura draws attention to two distinct and interconnected relationships: how we relate to one another and how we relate to language. When we deepen our relationship with one, our relationship to the other also deepens. Maybe. I don't know. I'm a little iffy about that one. The imperative, stay with me, unfolds into blank space, inviting the reader to consider the choices, stay or leave, while receiving its multiple resonances. The syntax omits the subject, thus foregrounding the action verb. So the you, which is us, becomes the action. We become what somebody else tells us to do, expressing an urgent coaxing, helplessness to, and overlaying these difficult feelings is something tender, vulnerable. The narrator is beckoning us. She needs us so her words may travel elsewhere, so they might touch and be touched by other words, so she may connect with the beings around her, feel herself visible, feel herself feeling visible, this relationship within and beyond our control. The tenderness, her spiritual love, diffuses any stiffness the command has expressed, so the action we become is love. Stay with me. We bring to the page space our instincts, make decisions without conscious deliberation, decisions that don't feel like decisions, decisions that evade easy explanation. These no decision decisions feel to us as feeling-based, as instinctual. Frank O'Hara from Personism, you just go on your nerve. And our instincts, always mediated through our psychic spaces, form from physical conditions and through the social constructions surrounding our bodies, as in how language, story, music, dream shape our ways of being in the world, and what we read and has been read to us, along with attachment styles, aspects of identity, how we direct our attention to the world. All of this mixing and stewing into a kind of vocal guiding system, blank space here, the word flotsam here, a guiding system opening our bodies to all the language possibilities. Whatever it is that makes any given piece of writing express an idiosyncratic way of being on the page, in the world, I think it arises from this more mysterious guiding system space. It's a spiritual physical space, the space of infinite possibility and arbitrariness, a space of creaturely attention that activates the desire to free ourselves from constraints. This is Leah Purpura. All things want to speak in their voices. I'm going to say that again. All things want to speak in their voices. This is Inger Christensen, and I think this is on the handout. But poems aren't made out of experiences or out of thoughts, ideas, or musings about anything. Poems are made out of words. It's through our listening to the words, to their rhythms and timbres, the entirety of their music, that the meanings in them can be set free. It's through our fascination with words, through our marveling at them, at these remarkable human sounds and their broadly encompassing network of interrelationships, that poems can happen at all. You might detect I have avoided writing anything like a primer or how-to. Like how do you make open language? The teacher in me wants to offer you a lens through which you might look at your own work. So here it is. What qualities do open language or language opening, what qualities do they share? Open language, abstract and concrete, is often particular, relatable, freshly strange to the ear, multiple to in the way it adds surplus meaning. Consider a writer's use of word choice or diction and the way that those words are arranged and the tone of those words. The distinct and webbed ingredients that go into the making of a singular voice. Here's some advice. If you're describing the concrete world, and we're going to talk about this in workshop, I know Brandon and I are. If you're describing the concrete world, describe this world in motion. Because that is the world. The world is in motion. Here is a passage from Leah Papura's On Prayer. It was a quilt of the kind I know to be in most American hotel rooms. Synthetic and scratchy on the underside, where little white pills gather from rubbing and snags from jewelry make a web of lines. Time marks blankets and towels with thin spots, blind with frayed slats, toilet seats with chips. Rust stains a sink, and water, go to this page. Water, a nightstand. Quilts of this kind withstand a lot. Our antics and rest, much shaking and straightening and rough cleaning, all evidence of the passage of days and nights. End quote. The narrator here imagines the quilt the local police have found, wrapped around a young woman murdered, a student at the university at which the narrator teaches. Rubbing pills, snags from jewelry, frays, spots, chips, everything's in motion. Language is motion. To describe the world's motion is to describe contradictory emergence of appearance and disappearance, growth and decline, connection and disconnection. All the indefinite, fluctuating possibilities ghosting single moments. I want to emphasize that close listening and listening to change, what you end up hearing is contradiction. Contradictions in your behavior or in other people's behaviors or human behavior, contradiction in feelings. You know, the way that anger can also be love. Listening closely is listening to change and listening to those contradictions flow. This is a poem by Edel Odman. Did I mention that I really love Edel Odman? There remain the folds in the slacks, the curled eyelashes, and the vigor of the muscles. He is dead. Even after his heart stops beating, his slacks continue their fold. His eyelashes, their curl. Inside the word heartbeat is the word breath. Now it's your turn. This time, listen to yourself, breathe. In Blood Spots 3, Leah Papora writes, quote, "To describe a fleet-bodied there and gone light, Emily Dickinson wrote, noon's report away. And so must have known her gun sounds too. A word used well is many-realmed and maps in all directions at once." These many realms contribute to widening the web of contradiction, thus enacting, radiating ambiguity. Ambiguity holds space for many different readings, many different meanings, thus a lot of different readers. In a sense, ambiguous language listens by anticipating words in response. I'm going to read that sentence again. Ambiguous language listens by anticipating words, our words, in response. If you want to write better details, listen to the world more closely. In her introduction to Best American Experimental Writing, Myung-Mi Kim presents a list of words. Here's the list. I love this list. Cusp, pivot, halt, torque, aperture, transience, threshold. Makes you want to bring the spelling bee back. Emergent, limn, L-I-M-N, limn, tensile. From the writing of others that, in her words, gesture towards the question or towards the reflexive, that is, towards language sort of gesturing towards itself, or language that seems to bounce out towards questions. If my words gesture towards a question or towards language, its capacity to make meaning at multiple levels at once, then space opens up for your listening. To become a writer is not to try to find language within you, but the language that's already around you. Aperture. My grandma stood at the kitchen sink, rinsing food scraps off the lunch dishes, looking out at me in the driveway. I just pooped my pants, and the only way I could think to keep my grandma from discovering this was to crouch down over the crack in the pavement and watch the ants. The luminous, pyramidal zigzagging, spilling in and out of the entrance to their nest. How I wanted to follow them inside. Just going to read one more section. Oh, I'm going to read this. No, I'll read this first. Okay. A dark replaces a brightness. At the same time, a light shines into a dark space. The dark and the light happen in the same moment. Philadelphia happens in the same moment Milwaukee happens. Nelson, British Columbia happens in the same moment Praha, Česká republika, and in the same moment Česko. Hello, Oysterville, Washington, and hello, Benton Harbor, Michigan, Harlem. Dark and daylight at once, in the forest, just as our part of the earth turns away from the sun. This is Edel. It returned to its solitude. And your eyes become accustomed to varying gradations of light within dark. Birch tree bark, fungi patches, crickets stridulate, frogs croak, the breeze softs through tree boughs tipped in moonlight. Language can do this, reveal dark and light at once, speak and listen at once, be and become at once. So this is by Alan Capro Happening. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, their name right. This is just, it's called Easy. It's a little exercise for you all. Dry stream bed. Wetting a stone. Carrying it downstream until dry. Dropping it. Choosing another stone. There. Wetting it. Carrying it upstream until dry. Dropping it. That's it.